everybody. Thank you for joining me today at Re-Ritten Vintage Rescue. It's a beautiful day here in the Midwest. I'm out here in my garage and I have all kinds of projects that I'm working on, and I thought you might want to join me. So the first thing I'm going to do is plant some lettuce, and I've showed you before how I fill up my pot most of the way with pine cones. So I'm using those as a filler. It saves on the soil that I have to use. It's going to all break down anyway. It's going to feed my plants and it helps filter the water down. Next, I'm going to add some of my kitchen compost that I've had stewing in the kitchen for a while. And this is going to add some extra vitamins and nutrients to my soil. And then I'm going to add my soil. Marshall's having a wonderful day eating his bone down here by me. I hope everyone's having a wonderful day where you are. It's that time to be working on those spring and summer projects for sure. So in this big pot, I'm going to plant my lettuce. I don't direct sow my lettuce into the ground. I have too many little varmints, voles and things like that would eat on the roots. So I like to keep mine in pots and above ground. Here we go. So I'm just adding my potting soil, making a nice firm little layer and pressing down as I go. So if I was going to be putting this in my garden, I would be putting it in rows about 12 inches apart. But since I'm putting it in my pot so that I can just run outside and cut some off and grab some when I want it for a salad, I'm just going to lightly sprinkle all the way around. Now after these start coming up, I'm going to have to thin it so that it's like survival of the fittest, so that the strongest grow the hardiest. So now that I have these down here, I'm going to add some soil on top, just real thin, maybe 1/4 inch. Add it down a little to keep it from blowing away. There you go. That's all there is to it. So I'm going to water it, put it out in my garden, and we'll look at it when it starts sprouting, okay? Planted a lot of my plants in my peat pots. If I ran out of time making peat pots, I just use the egg container or any coffee containers, anything that I could find. I don't go out and buy things to plant my seeds in. But I wanted to show you guys a little tip here. So you want to make sure that you put drainage holes or you use something like this that's going to drain naturally because it's going to get soggy. So you want to make sure you have drainage holes on the bottom. And then you put your potting soil, and then you water them. But then you don't want to have to keep watering them. You don't want to have to keep worrying about them. Are they getting enough water? So I get shower caps at the dollar store. You can get a pack of like 5 for $1, and they fit over everything. Here's the round container. This will go over the egg carton. See? Don't know if you can see it very well, but what that's going to do is it creates its own water from the humidity. So I put it out in the sun, and it's a self-watering mechanism here that's just an egg carton and a shower cap. You can also just do it with a piece of Reynolds wrap, the saran wrap over the top. But this is nice because it has that little cup, little snap there, so it won't blow away. I've been saving my bottles, my water bottles, my soda bottles, and that thing for quite some time. So I use these for planting seeds too. And what I do is I cut it off at the middle, and I put my dirt, put my seed, add a little water, and then if you cut slits on the top part of your bottle and squeeze your bottle so that you can fit the top over it, it becomes its own little terrarium too. It's going to be self-watering, so you don't have to worry about it all the time. Another way you can use these is cut it off turn it this way, take the top off, plant your seeds, stick it in this way, water, and there you go. It just funnels right through, waters your plant. I like it this way so it creates its own water, just like a terrarium. I put it in my window and I don't have to worry about it. Now I'm only going to leave these tops on until I get my true leaves, which is my second sprout of leaves. And then I'm going to take the top off, okay? So that we don't get any kind of mold or anything in the dirt or on the plant. So if you have pop bottles laying around, if you have water bottles laying around, give this a try to start your seeds. Yeah, I've also been working on my potatoes. These are seed potatoes from Wisconsin. They're certified seed potatoes. So you want to make sure when you buy your potatoes that they are certified as seed potatoes. That way you won't have any trouble with disease. You can plant potatoes, a lot of people do, that they've, had at home they were going to cook with, and the little chits have grown, the little runners, but they're disease prone. So that's why I choose to get mine certified seed potatoes. So what you can do, if you would bring home a potato that didn't have any eyes on it, you would want to put that in some people think it's a dark place, but actually you want it in the sun so that it doesn't get mold and damp. Okay, so you're going to put it somewhere in a sunny place, and that's called chitting. And so what happens is your little runners grow. These are your little eyes. That's where your plant's going to come from. Okay, these are already done. This is how I bought them. And so what you want to do is, depending on who you listen to, they're going to tell you anywhere from 1 to 4 of these little eyes. Okay, so if you would get a potato that only has 2 or 1, you could plant the potato just like that and you're going to be fine. But if you get a potato that has more and has a lot of eyes to it, you're going to want to cut those into 2-inch chunks, anywhere from 1 to 2-inch chunks. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this one here. Now, as you see, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so it has 5 eyes on it. So I'm going to try to divide this, and this will get me even more potatoes. So I'll just take my knife. I like to try to have two eyes on each slice, okay? So you want to take a clean knife, just cut the slice. Now I've left 2 on this. And I'm going to cut this one so it'll have 2. Here and here. You want to try to leave it about a 2-inch chunk. Okay, like this. Now I've cut a lot of my potatoes already. And what I'm going to need to do is I need this to harden. It kind of grows over and gets hard. Why I want that is when I put it in the ground, I don't want it to get disease. I don't want it to get mold, and I want it to be nice and hardy. So I'm going to leave these in my garage for maybe, I think they say 48 hours, but I'm going to leave mine in here for about 3 days till they get a nice coating over the bottom. Then when we get ready to plant the potatoes, I'll take you out to the garden with me. So Marshall and I literally feel like grave diggers out here today, but what we've done is we've prepared our bed here to plant our potatoes. Marshall, that was just a joke. Don't be upset. I was just joking, okay? All right, we're going to plant our potatoes, okay? Okay. So what I did, and everybody has a different way of doing things, but basically it's the same, is I've dug a trench down my garden here. I have sticks on each end that have a biodegradable string attached. You don't need fancy things on the end of your garden as plant stakes. You just grab a stick, that'll do. And you want your ditch to be about 4 or 6 inches deep. Okay? Now, what I do is as I'm digging my trench, I put dirt on both sides, as you can see, of my trench, because with a potato, you have to do what's called hilling. So the first time you plant it, you're going to hill with one side, and then when it comes up with its second set of true leaves, you're going to hill it with the other side. So I figure while I'm out here digging and working, I might as well just get it done. So let's put our first potato in here. There you go. Now what you're going to do is you're just going to lay it on the side. Now this one I didn't cut, but if I would have cut it, I would have laid it on the cut side. But I want my little eye here to be pointing upwards, because that is what's going to come out of the ground first thing. So let's find one here that I cut. Here's a good one. Now you guys, I have let these sit. After I cut them, I let them sit for probably 4 or 5 days, just so this outer part that I cut could harden. If you put it in the ground without letting that harden, you are risking disease and mold and fungus. So let's give it a healthy start. Now you're going to space them about a foot between each. Okay, so I've got my little thing, I'm on my flat side, and I've got my little eye pointing upward. Sorry about that. And I'm just going to keep going down about a foot with each one, okay? There you go. I'm putting my side down there. Now, you know, for every one of these little shoots, you might get, more than likely, 15 to 20 potatoes from each shoot. So you can see why people love to grow their own potatoes, because you can keep them in a cold place all winter long and not have to buy them. And potatoes are one of the least expensive foods you can buy. Okay, so now that I have my potatoes down, I'm taking my one side and covering them up. Okay. Covering it up good. Best I can. Now, like I said, when that comes up with its second set of, you call those the true leaves, the first ones that come out are going to be the shoot of the seed, okay? The second is your actual leaves. So I'm covering them with my one side here, and then after those leaves come up, I'm going to go right down my trench here and do the other side. See, I figure if you're out here working, you might as well get it all done at once. So Marshall and I are going to get this row done, and then we'll come back and visit. So you guys, I'm really happy I had enough seed potatoes to do 2 rows here. And I've got them spaced about a foot apart. And they are a foot apart every planting. I also wanted to show you guys the lettuce that I planted in my little containers. They're already coming up, and it's only been about 4 or 5 days. Let me show you this one. So what I'm going to do, oh look, here comes Rin Tin Tin. What I'm going to do is, as those come up and they get bigger, I'm going to separate them so they have more room to grow and thrive. This is the bed where my strawberries are going to go as soon as I get some dirt. It's a beautiful evening out here. The red-winged blackbirds are singing. I hope you guys are all having a wonderful evening too. So since we've been working with potatoes and we got them ready for the garden, I've got them out in the garden, I thought we'd talk about this little vegetable. Do you know that potatoes are the largest vegetable crop in the United States? And for years, it got a bad rap for being bad for you. And there were studies done saying that if you ate too many potatoes per week, you would die. But they've done studies since then, and they have found that, yes, just like any other food, if you overdo it, it's bad for you. So if you get one of these and you heap on the butter and you heap on the sour cream, it's bad for you. If you fry them all the time, you have it 3 or 4 times a week, it's bad for you. But if you have it occasionally, they found that it's even good for you. It's high in vitamin B and it's high in vitamin C. So I have been busy today, you guys. I have been working out in the garden. I've been out there for hours in between rain. And if you're of the female persuasion, I'm going to tell you a sad fact of life. But I feel it's my duty as an older woman to share this with you. Once you're out of the house, after you graduate high school until you go into a nursing home, every night of the week, it's up to you to figure out what's for dinner. I know, it's not fair, is it? And like me tonight, I'm tired. And the easiest thing to do would be, let's run to a restaurant. I don't want to spend the money, and it doesn't taste good half the time. So inexpensive potato would be fast. You know what else is good to have? I bet a lot of you rolled your eyes and said, no, thank you. I love Spam. And Spam is something you should have in your pantry all the time. And I tell you what, when the pandemic hit, you could hardly find it. So let me tell you a little bit about Spam. So around 1937, the Hormel Company developed this. And one of the least desirable parts of the pig is the shoulder. So they had excess shoulder meat. We were getting ready to go into World War II, and there was a huge demand for non-perishable protein. Other than your nuts, your legumes, things like that, there wasn't anything back then. So the Hormel Company came up with Spam. And the name doesn't stand for anything fancy. Some people think it does. It's just like a mixture of everything together, and this is what you get. And it hasn't really changed much since 1937, other than in 2007, they added a potato starch to it to keep it from, do you remember it used to have a gunky gel in there, and you would open it and dump it, and that gel would be on top? Well, that potato starch sucks that up. So we don't have that anymore. And I think another reason Spam gets a bad name, especially among people my age, is back in the 60s, it was kind of popular, but I don't know if your mom was like my mom, but they would try to make this into the main dish, or make you think it was the main dish, and bring it out on a plate like a meatloaf, and stick an olive in it or stick a clove in it and tell you, here's dinner. Well, it wasn't that good. But in the 70s, it really saw a resurgence, and they started putting it in all different kinds of foods. So I tell you, this is very inexpensive. It's great to have on hand. It lasts 3 to 4 years. And you know what's funny? It's kind of like the hardtack of the Civil War. The Civil War soldiers, they even took home hardtack as souvenirs. That shows you how. And I bet there's still some today that you could find. And it's the same with our World War II soldiers. Many came home and said, I will never eat that again, ever. Because that's about all they had as far as protein. So, but I encourage you to try some different recipes with this. Spam potato, very inexpensive. And so that's what I decided to do tonight. I hadn't laid out any meat. I hadn't done any planning. I had this in my cupboard. What I decided to do for myself tonight for dinner was I diced up some potatoes. I peeled them and I diced them. And then I diced up some green peppers and onions. This is the good stuff. Spam. And Marshall's down at my feet because he loves Spam too. I'm going to fry all of this up until it gets nice and brown. Salt and pepper. Probably going to add an egg to it. I'll show it to you when I get done, and I'm going to have it for dinner. It's fast. It's inexpensive. If you have leftover green beans, corn, spinach, anything like that in your fridge, you can add that too. It's really good. You can add all kinds of things. Remember, don't take things out of your diet, put things into your diet, and they'll keep you full longer. So it's frying up nice, you guys. You can use any kind of oil if you like canola oil, because it's healthier for you. I just use plain old Crisco, but you can use vegetable oil, whatever you want. And I start off by frying my potatoes for a little while first because they take longer. I like them to get nice and brown. Then I add my peppers and my onions, and I add my Spam last because it fries up pretty quick. It smells fabulous. And I'm going to add a little salt and pepper. You want to get your oil so that it's starting to bubble, but not smoking when you put your potatoes in. Let's see how quick this is. So far, it's only been 12 minutes and it's almost done. So I'm going to let it cook a little while longer, and then I'll show you the end result. So dinner is ready. And I'll tell you what, you guys, I am eating like a queen tonight. That was fast. Look how it turned out. Oh, and I decided to add a little more protein to it. I'm hungry. I worked up an appetite out in the garden. So I fried an egg, put it on top, and I have enough left over I can have for breakfast in the morning. It's so good, you guys. So the next time the kids say, Mom, what's for dinner? Say it's Spam, your favorite. But remember, just don't bring it out on a tray with an olive or something and serve it like a meatloaf. You guys, I hope you have a great week. Have fun out in your gardens this week, and come back and see me next time.